Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I'm sure I look a little weird. I'm sure the lighting is a little weird. This is a weird time for me to be filming. I'm literally filming after getting off of work. A couple of my coworkers are out of town, so I've been doing all of the day shifts for the weekend this week, which means I'm pretty much gone from like 1 p.m. to 9 p.m., which is usually around the time that I film these videos because I don't really wake up before 11 a.m. If you don't know, I am a bartender and a beverage director, so I work primarily in nightlife. But here we are. I'm really excited. It's the second to last day in December, and I wanted to film my December wrap-up because unless some crazy miracle happens where I finish the book that I'm reading right now entirely in one night, I think I am going to only have 4 books for the month of December. If that happens to change, I will let you know, but I doubt it, even though the book I'm reading right now, which is Brother by Anya Alborn, shout out to every single person who told me to read that. I'm 10 pages in. I just started right before I took my shower and everything and did my skincare routine after work to film this, and it was so good. And after I finish this, I'm going to go back and read more of it. But yes, I am in full skincare routine, full jammy mode. It's dark outside. Couldn't even bother to set up my my nighttime rig because I'm just so exhausted, but I do have two sources of light coming and hitting me, so this side of my face might be a little dark. Sorry about that. For those of you guys who do not know, I'm only going to have 4 books for this month because I got very, very sick right before Christmas. I was in the hospital. I am fine. It was not what they thought it was, which is great. I still have to go get some tests for that. We don't quite know what it is yet, but we will hopefully figure it out. But as of right now, I am totally fine. So that is why there were 4 books, because I pretty much lost like a week to my illness, and then it was the holidays, and I didn't have any time to read the way I wanted to there. However, I did get through 4, and I'm really proud of it because I do have 2 5-star reads. This might be the only month this year that I have 5-star reads, and I was so close to making it through the year without a 1-star review, but I do have one-star review. And I'm going to talk about it because it's extremely, extremely rare to get a 1-star review on my channel. Usually I rate books between 2 and 5, 2 being books that I finished, kind of wish I hadn't, or debated DNFing. I don't rate books if I DNF them. So a 1-star read is pretty much a book that I don't ever really recommend to people, that I didn't like reading, and for some reason I finished it because I had to, or because it was so short that I felt compelled to finish it, because if a book is under 100 pages and you DNF it, I feel like you're not really giving the book a chance. This book is actually a little bit different than that. Most of my 1-star reviews are from like book clubs, so I had to read it, or like school, so I had to read it. Sometimes there's like gifts where I feel compelled to read them, but we'll get to that in a second. Anyway, first up, let's talk about The Searcher by Tana French. So there's an account on Instagram called Monty Reads, run by this guy named Rob, he is awesome, and every time he recommends a book, I'm just like, yes, I have to read what he recommends, and he's never led me wrong. And he recommended In the Woods by Tana French, I believe 1.5 years or 2 years ago, and I read that and I really, really enjoyed it. So when my friend, I went book shopping here in New York at this little shop called Book Club Bar, she was like, oh, I read this and it was fantastic, and we see very much in sync on certain aspects of books. And I read the back of the book and I was kind of like, I don't know if this is my thing, but then I was like, oh, like Monty Reads loves Tana French. So between those 2 recommendations, I was like, all right, I'm gonna pick this up. I'm gonna read the back of the book for you guys really quickly, just because I don't want to give a summary of this book and ruin some of the twists, and I feel like I might if I do that, so I'm just gonna read the back. So it says, Cal Hooper thought a fixer-upper in a remote Irish village would be the perfect escape. After 25 years in the Chicago police force and a bruising divorce, he just wants to build a new life in a pretty spot with a good pub where nothing much happens. But when a local kid whose brother has gone missing arm twists him into investigating, Cal discovers that even in the most idyllic small town, dangerous secrets lie hidden, and trouble can come calling at his door. Okay. I'll leave it at that. This is an incredibly slow-paced book. This is very much a slow burn. It's very lulling, it's very long, it's very detailed. It's like 450 pages, and I feel like the story itself probably could have been told in about 200, 250. But the way Tana French writes, you just feel so relaxed, and you really see this Irish countryside. And I felt very similar about In the Woods as well. It is very slow, but you get this very, like, almost like I'm on vacation, like, vibe when you're reading these books. And it's almost like cozy horror, except it's not happy endings the way that Darcy Coates are. Like, it's not a feel-good horror book, but it is a book that you kind of feel good while reading because the pacing and the scenery and the descriptions are just so great. So is this the most compelling plot in the world? No. Does it have, like, twists that are mind-blowing? No, but it has some cool twists. It actually reminds me a lot of a non-comical version of Hot Fuzz, the Edgar Wright film that he did, Shaun of the Dead, if you don't know. But this is a much, much, much more serious book. But I just really loved it. And it had a twist that I didn't see coming at all, that I had just seen recently in another book that I read this year, another 5-star book that I read this year. And so I was a little taken aback that I've now seen this. These are both relatively new books. I think this came out last year, and the book I read with also the same twist came out this year. I was a little taken aback that they both had this twist, and that I didn't see it coming either time, especially now that I've been exposed to that type of twist. But this was a 5-star read for me. I really loved it, but if you are not in the mood for a slow burn, slow-paced book, this might not be for you. This is definitely a book that took me a while to get through, but I enjoyed all of it. And I really, really loved Cal, and I loved the kid Trey. They were just such an interesting pair. There's like this feel-good side story with puppies. It's happy, don't worry. The puppy side of the story is really cute. And then everything else is just really dark and bleak, but in this quaint little town that I kind of want to visit, but after reading this book, I'm like, I should never go to this town. But yeah, Tana French is a unique author. I haven't really read anything like her stuff before, because it is kind of as like bleak as something like The Chestnut Man, but kind of feels like cozy and warm like a Darcy Coates book with usually not happy endings. Anyway, 5 stars. I was stoked on that. Okay, next up is River of Ashes by Alexandria Weiss and Lucas Astor. This was the inaugural book in our Twisted Retreat box. Now, I just want to take a moment to talk about how freaking beautiful this edition is. I love how beautiful this book is. I think it's truly stunning. I think it's really just the attention to detail that went into creating this book cover, I think, is awesome. And I'm really happy that Twisted Retreat and Unplugged as a whole company are doing this now. I just learned that like Illumicrate and Fairy Loot do this. Those are not books that those are not like the type of books that I read, so I've never really gotten those. Yeah, so this was billed kind of like American Psycho meets Lord of the Flies, and I understand thematically where they're taking that comparison, but this is one of the most juvenile books I have ever read in my entire life. Just listen to the inside of this book cover, okay? So it says, along the banks of the Bogue Flya, I hope I'm saying that right, Flya River, sits the abandoned St. Francis Seminary. Beneath a canopy of oaks blocked from prying eyes, the teens of St. Benedict High gather here on Fridays. The rest of the week belongs to school and family, but weekends belong to the river. And the river belongs to Beau Devereaux. The only child of a powerful family, Beau can do no wrong. Star quarterback, handsome, charming, the Prince of St. Benedict is the ultimate catch. He is also a psychopath. Ooh, the show don't tell thing right there. A dirty family secret buried for years, Beau's evil grows unchecked. In the shadows of the haunted abbey, he commits unspeakable acts on his victims and ensures their silence with threats and intimidation. Senior year, Beau sets his sights on his girlfriend's headstrong twin sister, Leslie, who hates him. Everything he wants but cannot have. She will be his ultimate prize. As the victim toll mounts, it becomes clear that some must stop Beau Devereaux, and that someone will pay with their life. This is like so CW. It's just, I feel like I always hate on CW. I like CW shows. I know I hate on them a lot. I watched this, I don't even think this was ABC Family or whatever it's called, Freeform now. I watched like all of Pretty Little Liars. I did watch like the first 2 seasons of Riverdale. I do not hate CW shows, but it's something that you need to be like in the mood for, this kind of like teen angst drama that like sort of has adult topics thrown in. You know, like you watch it when you're like 15 and it's great. Or if you're me, you watch Pretty Little Liars at any time. But this read like a CW show. All of the characters were these stereotypical high school cliches. They were all one note. And then you have this wannabe Patrick Bateman without the complexity of Patrick Bateman. Beau Devereaux is one of the most unlikable one-note characters I've ever met, and it's just like, I am evil to be evil. And this whole thing about his character that the book says over and over again, it's so much telling and not showing, that like Beau has everybody fooled because he creates this perfect boy facade, but he doesn't. He loses his cool every single fucking page. It's unfucking believable. I don't think I can say the F word that many times on YouTube in succession, but it is. It is. It's unbelievable. And it's just this like, just everything is so cringe, and he's just such a poorly written character, and it's just like, okay, you're a psychopath, okay, nobody sees through your, like, disguise, but like, JK, this person sees through your disguise, and this person sees through your disguise, and this person sees through your disguise, and you're like so mean and cruel to these people, and they somehow like they don't tell this kid, they don't tell on this kid who's always getting in trouble with his dad, whose dad's like not happy or proud of him. It's just so cliche. And then on top of that, it is this book needs trigger warnings. This is some of the most violent, like unexpectedly violent scenes I've seen. Like, there is so much violence towards women. It is so unbelievably difficult to read. It is so offensive. And there's this weird undertone. I know the author wrote it to be like, was like a cautionary tale, or to tell you like, if you have been hurt by somebody, or you've been abused, like you can come forward, like there's an element to that, or to fight back. But every single person who gets, I don't think I can say this on YouTube, every single person who gets hurt by Beau Devereaux, every single woman who gets hurt, read between the lines with what I'm saying here, guys, is punished for being promiscuous. The only women who are not punished are the ones who aren't promiscuous, and I think that is a bad message to send. This gives the whole sex is bad and bad things will happen to you vibe, and I hate that. It is so unfeminist reading this book, and I'm going to do a whole video where I talk more in depth about this book. I'm not going to do a full review to it because I don't want to, but I will have a video where I talk about this and a few other books from this year a lot more concretely. But the message sent in this book was so uncomfortable, and it was just so, like, I felt dirty after reading, like, the big climactic scene with Beau. He is horrible. Horrible. And there's, like, I hate the book American Psycho. I couldn't get through it. I think Patrick Bateman and Bret Easton Ellis are depraved. Sorry. But I couldn't get through that book. It was too much. But at least there was something to be said. That book was written with an intent. It was written with a purpose. There is some type of dark sarcasm there into the world of, like, finance, nepotistic finance bros of the 80s, right? There's something there. This book had none of that. I was just reading about somebody who was horrifically evil to be horrifically evil. I didn't get any message. It was so unfeministic, and it was so unfeminist, and it was so degrading towards women, and it was just so bad. And oh god, the characters were so one note. They were so horrible, and then such horrible, horrible, horrible things happened to them. And for a while, it's not really said in detail, which, like, I can read that. I don't like reading scenes like this, but when it's not done in detail, it's okay. And then all of a sudden, just explicit detail out of nowhere. And the reason this is a 1-star book for me is because it was just a bad book up until, like, the final 40 pages. And then it took this dark turn and became depraved, explicit, disturbing, on top of poorly written, on top of having terrible character development. And so I felt the need to finish it because I literally had like 40, 30, 20 pages left, and I was just appalled by the book. And it wasn't like, this is the most disturbing thing I've ever read. It's not something like Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum, where horrible things happen, but there's a reason that story is being told. There is no reason for this story to be told. It was just gross shock value that was so negative in its view towards women. I hated this book. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I will never recommend this book, and it's a shame that this book is beautiful. I'm debating if I keep it or not. I might give it away. Again, beautiful, beautiful book, but I don't know if I can keep it. Anyway, that was my 1-star read of the year. I will talk more about that later on in another video. All right, so then we get Lucky Girl. This came in my most recent Nightworms package, and it says, the full title, Lucky Girl, How I Became a Horror Writer, A Krampus Story by M. Rickert. I got very excited for this. I started reading this on like the first day I got sick, and I read the whole thing in one day. It's very short. It's 100 and so pages. This is fun. This is a weird, like, mystery, murder mystery, who done it, who can you trust kind of thing. Group of friends meet, or a group of people meet in a diner, kind of become friends over the course of years. Some of them have questionable pasts. They meet every year on Christmas. Things unravel. There's a lot of weird stuff in this. This kind of went all over the place. I feel like there were 2 stories in one. I feel like this could have been really good as a novel, and all of this was expanded upon. I felt like a lot was shoved into 100 pages and wanted to know more. That was not my issue with this book. My issue with this book is it says, Lucky Girl, How I Became a Horror Writer. All of that fully in the book. I understand the title, I understand the subtitle. What I don't understand is the A Krampus Story. Krampus is mentioned. Krampus is alluded to. Krampus isn't really in this. And that bummed me out because I read this expecting Krampus. And the way they tease it, I have even teased with multiple Krampuses, Krumpi, Krampus, don't know, in this. Krampuses, pretty much nowhere to be found. Was not okay with that. I wanted this to be a Krampus story. It is not a Krampus story, even though the lore of the Krampus isn't even following like specific like Austrian lore. It's just like, it could have been any monster and the story still would have worked, right? And I felt like, and I said this in my Instagram post, that I felt like this book, I felt like the author watched the 2015 Krampus film and was like, that's Krampus lore, and then just put that in here, and it's like, you know, no, it's not. It's not. But interesting, fun Christmas read. It is not a Krampus story. That is a lie. But I do like the title. I really like the irony once you read the book. The irony of the title is just kind of devastating. And I do like the How I Became a Horror Writer thing. I don't know if it's about like M. Rickert, like this is like the story that inspired them, or if it's about our main character. It's a little bit of both, I feel, and I really like that. I thought that was really cool to have that in the title. But Christmassy, absolutely. Krampusy, absolutely not. 3 stars. All right, last but not least, guys, look at how beautiful this edition is. All right, this is The Night Parade by my beloved Ronald Malfi. I think it's safe to say that he's my 3rd favorite author of all time at this point. Stephen King, Edgar Allan Poe, the 2 greats, and then my contemporary master right here, Ronald Malfi. I love his books. I think this is the 8th or 9th book that I've read from him. I can probably count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 8 that I've read from him. I adored this. So this is a graveyard edition from Cemetery Dance Publications. This was limited edition to 500 copies. Mine is number 355. It's got Ronald Malfi's signature right there. Stoked on that. This is beautiful. I went into this fully blind. I didn't know what this was about. I just knew that it was Ronald Malfi. It had a high rating on Goodreads, and since mine didn't have a little thing to read on the back, I just dove in because it was so high rated. And again, Monty Reads on Instagram had just given it a very high rating as well. This is Malfi's The Stand. And I have to say, I think I like it more than The Stand. It trims a lot of the fat that The Stand has, and it's very, very different than just Everybody in the World Dies. This was written in 2016, and yet I feel like it really, really predicts COVID. There are so many people who don't believe in the virus. There are so many people who are overly concerned about the virus, who follow certain myths about the virus, conspiracies, everything. And the world goes on. People are dying left and right, and the world goes on as normal. It's a little more extreme than what happened during COVID, and it's really interesting to see Malfi predict what happened to COVID so accurately. The highlight of the story, though, is our main characters. It is a dad and his 8-year-old, soon-to-be 9-year-old little girl, and due to unforeseen circumstances with the CDC, don't really want to give too much away, he is taking his daughter away from his home. I'm just going to leave it at that. I think it's best to go into this book blind. This book tore my heart out. This book might have been more gut-wrenching than Come With Me. If you guys have read Come With Me, that book is so well crafted. And that's the story between a husband and a wife and their love. This is the story between a father and his daughter and their love. And oh my God, it's just so good. It's so good. And there's not a lot of supernatural. There is some supernatural, but I like how it's handled and I like how it's used and I like all the allusions to it. It's one of the best endings to a book I've ever read. I think it might arguably be the best ending I've ever read. I will say I totally teared up reading it. Come With Me is very strong for Malfi, so definitely one of the best endings to one of Malfi's that I've ever read. But oh my God, this is incredible. And the title is so interesting. It's so, I don't know why I thought this was going to be like about a night circus. Maybe because I was thinking like night and like the Black Parade or something like that, because that's what my My Chem mind goes to. But it's not. This is like beginning of the end of the world story, and I loved it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. This was a 5-star read for me. It is a contender for one of my top 10 books of the year, and it's really, 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 really high up there. I have my full list. It's sitting here right next to me, and I will do that as my next video, let you know my top 10 reads of 2022. And this is on here. Absolutely on here. This blew me away. I liked it more than Black Mouth. I'll spoil that for you guys. And I thought Black Mouth was brilliant. I liked this book more than December Park. And December Park is my favorite thing that Ronald Malfi has ever written until I read this. This is incredible. And it is so well done. The character development. There's like maybe 1 or 2 scenes in it that I felt were a little strange or I didn't quite buy, and then everything came back to full circle and they made sense. And I just, Malfi is so brilliant, and the fact that people don't give him the credit that they give Stephen King blows my mind. His books should be films at this point. They're so freaking good. The Night Parade, if you haven't read it, go read it. Oh my God, go read this book. It is so good. 5 stars, all around 5 stars, immediate 5 stars. Didn't even have to think about it. And then I got to that ending, and the ending just like ripped my heart out. And it's so brilliant. It was not the conclusion that I thought it was going to be, and it was just brilliant. Oh, and just the father and the daughter relationship, and just watching flawed characters. I love likable, flawed characters. I love them. I love reading about people who are not perfect, who exist in reality, and David, our main character, is so that. Oh, he was so well written. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. 5 stars. I'm so happy I'm ending on a 5-star, because I'm pretty sure I started the year with a 2-star read. And I had the month with a 1-star read as well. This has been a brutal year for reading, but I'm stoked that I had this. So 2 5-star reads this month, 1 3-star read, and 1 1-star read. That's a bummer, but it was made up for with my 5-star reads, and I just can't say it enough. Read The Night Parade by Ronald Malfi. It is amazing. I read this whole thing in like 4 days. I just couldn't stop. It was so good. Anyways, that is all that I have for you guys today. As always, I post every Monday and Thursday, sometimes on Saturdays. I'm hoping that my schedule will be back to normal now that it's about to be 2023. Get ready for all my videos for like end of the year wrap-ups and like upcoming releases and stuff like that. And yeah, that is it. If you enjoyed these videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, and I will catch you all in the next one. Mwah!